Hello and welcome to Zach's Traders Cafe. Today I'm joined by Andrea Cattaneo, who's President and CEO at Zenith Energy. How are you today, Andrea?
Very well. And yourself?
I'm doing fine. Latest news from Zenith is that you're expanding into the US.
Yes. The US is a very exciting panorama. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of opportunities, and all in the medium and small sector, so ideal for us. At the moment, we are negotiating with 9 counterparties, and so we wanted to run an acquisition trail strong and rapid without hesitation like we are forced to have in other parts of the world.
And I suppose Zenith's known for being all over the world, apart from in the US. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, first of all, the definition of all over the world is something that I want to correct scientifically. If you are in Africa and you think that you are near the other country next to you, and so to have an acquisition or a presence in the 2 countries will be rational and clever, please mind the time plan of the carriers, of the flights, because you will see that you have to go mostly to Addis Abeba or to Johannesburg, so spending 10 hours each side to go then to the place next door, because there are very few regional places. So I think that Africa, for example, which we will speak maybe later, is a very diverse continent with 3 languages or sometimes more, and then with a very high difference, deep difference between country to country. North America instead, Canada, where we come from, let's remember we are Canadian, is very much homogeneous. There is an enormous amount of oil properties. At the moment, these oil properties produce with the prices that are as high as the one we can have in the international market. So it is very attractive for us, especially coming from a period of long delays. Is very exciting the fact that we can do things rapidly without waiting for bureaucratic permission. And then we can have as well a drilling campaign. Let's remember that we have Zenith Drilling, which is a company with rigs, but above all with drilling management teams. And then with this drilling campaign, we can enhance production with the horizon that are normally much shallower than in Africa. So 2,000 meters, 1,000 meters, sometimes 400 meters.
So you're excited with the US in terms of both the tier 1 jurisdiction. They know the way things work in the way that you do, so there's not that cultural difference. And the opportunity there is known throughout the world.
Yes, and the opportunity are today looking better, because then we know the word, so even the USA traps will not scare us. And then speed is for us at the moment the key word.
Do you think, I mean, there are companies on the market at the moment, maybe people have heard of Zephyr, which is involved in the western part of the United States. The investors in London are more maybe comfortable and familiar with a company operating in the US rather than in various far-fetched areas of the world.
Well, there have been various different trends and vogues in the favor in London for American exploitation and development. There have been period in which it was very favored, period in which has been less in favor. I think that with us, they will understand that we are not an American operator. We are a Canadian operator with experience all over the world, which will adapt to the various differences in USA, but bringing the same standard and the same rigor in execution. So there have been in certain American situation a certain flow about reporting quantity and sort of things. Ourselves, we have a track record of being able to deliver information that are accurate, and we will do the same in USA.
So in a way, you're almost coming home, at least in terms of the continent.
Absolutely, coming home, and for people used to travel in any sort of temperature conditions and hygiene condition, even during COVID, is a refreshing situation.
And so how will, once you've made these acquisitions in the US or in America, how will that sit with the rest of the portfolio? Is it something where you'll have production coming in there, and then that tides the company over in terms of its other assets?
I think that it's very important to remember the reason for which we are in Africa and the Middle East. We are in Africa and the Middle East because we want to have high production. This high production will cost billions in USA, so it's not possible to achieve the production that we are still aiming in the various countries in which we are in Africa, which are 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. It's not possible to make such an acquisition in USA because the cost per flowing barrel per day is such bigger than the one in Africa that will be unaffordable for a company of our size. So what we want is to balance our portfolio. We should still maintain our strenuous continuing resilient activity in Africa, trying to foster the actual opportunities or to find other opportunities better or similar. But of course, even in Africa, we cannot go in the top countries. We have to go in countries which they have a degree of risk, because in this country that they have a degree of risk, the equation works. We can buy for $10, $20 million, which is the maximum we can strike at any time, properties that then we will invest together in farming in activity and farm out activity with others for 100 millions in the years to come. And these, they may produce the tens of thousands of barrels. These countries, nevertheless, they have an attitude and a track record which is delaying often their answer, or making this answer more complicated, or sometimes the country that is the target of our acquisition is at war. And then these things have upset our shareholders because A, they see that the situation is not clear, and then second, they see that the country may have some up and down. But unfortunately, it's part of the equation. You know, we cannot afford to buy 10,000 barrels in a country where the cost of barrel per day is too high. As simple as that. So we will have now instead a balanced portfolio with continuity in a tier one country in USA, production, no question, low depth of drilling, so repetitive new wells, which will bring a flow of news of RNS with the announcement in each well of the result, practical, consistent, and real results immediately, which is what our shareholders have missed for the last 2-3 years. But at the same time, we should absolutely continue in the opportunities in Africa and Middle East, because these opportunities, they are much more blue sky, and then can really make the people dreaming about having a share in Zenith. The two things together, I think, will work very much better. People should understand that in Africa there is not welcoming of the fact that Zenith does press releases. Government are easily offended by some statement in a press release, and so any communication when there is some difficulties can cause additional difficulties to Zenith and the shareholder. So it's not in the interest of the shareholders, which is we keep at our top of priorities, to make an announcement that will ruin something that is ongoing. So that lack of information is sometimes covering a very good opportunity, which needs to cook on the backfire quietly, because the government doesn't like intermediary announcement till we sign the PSA.
So in a way, over the near term, we'll probably hear more news regarding the US and in America and progress there. And on the back burner, let's say it's not even on the back burner, but in the background, you'll have your other projects in Africa and the Middle East cooking away, getting ready for an eventual sort of deal to go ahead.
In fact, absolutely right. In fact, our teams work, traveling with me, travel 2/3 in Africa and Middle East and only 1/3 in USA, because obviously the time result, the productivity of this trip is much more enhanced in USA, and instead, for transportation reason as well, a travel in Africa and Middle East take for the same task much more time. So we are still working and traveling for this proposition that the shareholders know and are waiting for in Africa and Middle East, 2/3 of our time, and 1/3 for the acquisition in USA.
So in a way, the moonshots continue, the moonshot investments continue. They could still be 1 to 100 wins, and that's going on. In the meantime, in the US, you mentioned $10 to $20 million in terms of your budget for acquisition.
Yes.
Whenever a company talks about acquisition, people think or can think that they'll need more money for that. Are you comfortable as you are? Are you funded to production? How is that going to work?
Well, first we will gain a new financing panorama that is USA. It's not an easy financing panorama because we know that sometimes the Americans come to London to raise the money, but we don't know if they have explored all the opportunities that are available. Zenith indeed has proven with this bond program to be able to find opportunities in financing that others didn't do. There are very few E&P junior that they do a bond program as we have done, repetitive, continuous, and self-propelling, because the new maturity will pay back the old maturity. So this is something that maybe we can discover in other shape and form in USA as well. Then equities maybe is not the best way to finance in USA E&P activity, but anyhow, equity, we don't want to use it at all, if we can, for our acquisition, because we don't want to dilute the stock.
Okay, so I was talking about coming home. There's the final aspect where you may be totally coming home, which is Italy.
Well, Italy is not my home anymore, but still, I may say even unfortunately, because it's a splendid place where to stay. At the same time, Italy is, like Africa, a country deemed by heavy bureaucracy, so there are delays there. But because we are already running in Italy since 11 years, things are becoming simpler, so we are still in the acquisition trail. I should say the acquisition could have been done in the last 18 months because the bonanza that the price of gas and electricity that has been created by the Ukraine war has made everybody stick into their properties. At the moment, the gas price has gone down in an important way, and there are somebody certainly we know that is ready to leave this complicated bureaucratic shore for other maybe home, and so we are in negotiation for acquisition as well there.
And is your Italy strategy really a nod to the way that you're, the moment where everybody's concerned about energy security, Zenith is an energy security play?
Yes, absolutely. They even changed the name of the ministry that is now contain the word energy security, and so the fact that we are specialists in negotiating with the authorities in the various layers. In Italy you have the ministry, the region, the provinces, the municipalities, and then the little district, local district, and plus some protesters. So there is a lot of work to deal for a property to be in production. But then gas production in Italy after that become a no-care problem because it's all very automatized, and the SNAM rete, which is the grid of Italian gas distribution, is one of the best of the world.
And just finally, Zenith pivoted into this new strategy. Do you think that it will, how long do you feel that it will take for investors to appreciate what you're doing?
Well, we have made, as you know, an announcement this morning about the first acquisition in USA, and then we have another 9 in negotiation. So I think that in 6 months, people should see a number that will be sufficiently big to make them forgetting our delays in the other part of the world.
Well, we look forward to further developments. In the meantime, Andrea Cattaneo, President and CEO of Zenith Energy, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for your time.